All right. Welcome into this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. Corey Moen, Evan Byrne. Evan, how we doing?
You know, outside of the atrocious Bucks play, we got Brewers. We got I know you don't, but we got Marquette playing today, so we got some fun games to watch outside of this monstrosity for the Bucks.
And a monstrosity it was. So we got a packed show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about Milwaukee's wins against the Thunder and their losses against the LA Lakers and the New Orleans Pelicans. Later on in the show, we're going to be discussing Jrue Holiday's comments about being traded from Milwaukee and Patrick Beverley playing through a wrist injury and how that might affect the bench. So let's get right into it. The Bucks played last Sunday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And, of course, they destroyed them. I don't necessarily have the score in front of me, but it was 118-93. You know, just a massive win, especially for a Thunder team that, after undergoing such a long rebuild, that you know, the team Sam Presti has built has been a team just driven by talent and, you know, by the fact that Chet Holmgren's been able to stay healthy for a vast majority of the season. Granted, in this game, he only scored 6 points, and they held Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to 12, and Josh Giddey scored 19, but, you know, again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, they're slowly but surely building a nice little team with not a lot of guys that I don't think you'd be able to name if you had to, like, blindly say, maybe name 5 players on the Thunder. I don't think you'd be able to. Because when I look at that team, I'm like, I probably could name like 3 or 4 with Lou Dort, Shai Gilgeous, Josh Giddey, which I don't know, unless you're a hardcore NBA fan, if you'd be able to name who Josh Giddey is. But, you know, they got a nice under-the-radar team. So what did you see in Milwaukee's winning against Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I felt like they played a really good second half. It was only a 1-point game in the Bucks' favor going into halftime, but that third quarter and fourth quarter, I think for scoring-wise, they did well. They held the Thunder to only 17 the third quarter, so I felt like they were able to just kind of get that over the hump of that close game. But I think the big thing, I noticed a lot of bench production, not like from a lot of the guys, but, you know, we got 3 guys in double figures. Pat 11, Bobby 15, and then Jay Crowder 10. But I think the biggest thing was their, I want to say, defensive schemes for the three-point shot against the Thunder. They held the Thunder to 10 of 43. I just felt like now the Bucks only made 1 more, but they took 9 less shots. So I can't really hate too much, but forced them to only shoot 23% from the 3, I felt like was extremely positive, especially with guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You know, you got Jalen Williams. Josh Giddey isn't really the biggest three-point shooter, but Chet Holmgren is also one of those centers who can kind of hit a couple threes, and they led him to 0 for 5. So I just felt like their lockdown defense worked on the guys who were going to score the most, which ultimately led to a Bucks blowing them out by, 25 points. So just kind of overall good defense, forcing bad shots, I think, for the Thunder, and just being able to then show that on the other side for their offensive side.
And a couple of other noteworthy stats is they had 58 points in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and particularly outside of Jalen Williams, I don't think they have like a low post presence to really knock off like what Milwaukee wanted to do. And that might be like a matchup discrepancy if OKC faces somebody in the first round, is if they go against like a bigger front line, that could prove to be an issue. Because and shooting as well. Like I don't think OKC is as good shooting from the outside, which is kind of which is what you need, especially if you're going to be successful in the playoffs, is you have to hit outside shots.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just one-dimensional, you're not going to go very far in the playoffs. So and again, kind of looking at the roster, they just don't have a lot of guys who could do that. Chet Holmgren would shoot a little bit, Shea Gilgeous, but Josh Giddey, people generally let him shoot. I know he scored 19, but when you look at it, it's like you get Jalen Williams, like Lindy Waters, Biombo's on this team, like Gordon Hayward, but I don't think Gordon Hayward's the same player as he once was.
Mm-mm.
I just don't know how many players from Oklahoma City are a threat from the outside.
Yeah, just kind of looking at it, I know Josh Giddey had 4 threes that game. I don't really remember him being a huge three-point shooter, but for all the people to be hitting the threes, I think him being the most efficient was probably not their main goal. But yeah, they're kind of similar to the Cavs in recent years, like when they were kind of starting their come up. You got a heavy starting lineup, but then you got an iffy bench, and it kind of shows just with the lack of bench scoring they have. They had a couple guys chip in 6 to 8. Otherwise, everything else was zeros. Gordon Hayward, again, just isn't the same since that leg injury. They got the 2 Jalen Williams. We had Jalen Williams, the Y, 8 minutes. Didn't really play too much. But, yeah, this is one of the teams where I'm not too worried about if the Bucks were to play somehow in the finals, because they're not going to play them anytime else. But I don't know. They're not too intimidating. They're kind of like the 2018 Bucks, that first year where you're really good in the regular season, and just you got to see where it comes up in the playoffs. No disrespect to OKC, but just kind of seeing what they'll be able to do in the playoffs this year. I'm excited though. They finally got like you said, the rebuild kind of done-ish. Maybe they're missing one more good piece, but good for them though.
Yeah, and that's the thing is. And that's what you realize as you really watch some of these games is with a couple of stars, you can win a lot of games in the regular season. But once you get to the postseason, it's a completely different ballgame because, okay, maybe your stars will win you a game or two, but when you're seeing these teams in a 7-game series especially, they can have game plans to force the other guys to step up. In Oklahoma City's case, if they had a game plan towards stopping Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, then it's kind of it's kind of like cutting off the head of the snake. Who else is gonna is there anybody else that's gonna step up, or are we just kind of following his lead? That would be the question I have. And Milwaukee can have a game like they did the other night where, okay, we really locked down on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and we forced Josh Giddey to beat us and won by 25. It's other teams are going to look at that, and they're going to be that could be what we have to do to really slow down this OKC team. So that'll be, I think Milwaukee kind of unlocks something there because OKC is very good this year. They're 49-21. So, and again, what we're kind of underscoring here is Giannis. It was mostly the Giannis show where he had 34 and 11. So, it's one of those it's one of those things where nobody else from Milwaukee did anything outside of the guys you mentioned, 3 double-digit scores off the bench, but Lillard had 12 points, and
yeah, outside of Giannis' high-scoring game, it was also just a pretty average, I think, shooting night for everyone else.
Oh, excuse me, I misread Giannis' stats. It was actually 30 and 19, so I went under on the rebounds, but the point is. Even Middleton, Middleton got involved too. He had 11 and 10, nice double-double there. I don't remember Chris Middleton being a high rebound guy, but he was this game. And I do like that every time you always read off Malik Beasley's stats, he had a nice little 8 and 2. BP 15 and 6. So And even we get, minutes from the other guys. So Giannis, Andre Jackson Jr., Chris Livingston, I love to see those guys play.
Yeah, and you did mention Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton double-double is a triple-double. That was his second career triple-double. And I think very quick, like 30-second rat, what very annoys me about, that sounded weird. What annoys me about the Bucks is that Chris Middleton gets a triple-double, right?
Yeah.
The media doesn't post about the Bucks dominating the Thunder, the first seed in the West. The only thing that they post about the Bucks Thunder game is Chris Middleton getting angry, quote unquote, at Doc Rivers for not playing him to get the triple double because he needed one more point. But he did. He was, I don't know. I don't see it as like dude, why aren't you playing me? Like, I'm 1 point away. He was like, come on, I'm 1 point away. Like, you got to play me. And all the captions are, Chris Middleton is pissed off at Doc Rivers for not playing him. It's like, first of all, he did play him. They just don't show any of that. They don't post about the triple double or anything. And also, it's not that serious. I don't know. That just bugged me. Anyways, but yeah, triple double. Chris Middleton, second career, I think, since 2018. He hasn't gotten one, or 17.
Yep. So, moving on to the next game. Jesus. I just watched this game, and I still kept coming back to how did they possibly lose this game? And it was a game Wednesday night, I believe it was, against the LA Lakers. 128-124, double overtime loss.
Yep.
Milwaukee led by as many as 19 heading into the fourth quarter, and even as many as 10 with like 3 minutes left. And their offense just did not play well down the stretch at all. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
And kind of taking a peek at like what the possessions were looking like. It was just forcing up or settling for jumpers that they didn't need to. I didn't see the ball in Giannis' hand too much. As a matter of fact, I felt as though the ball was in the hands too much of Chris Middleton's, who wasn't making a lot of his outside shots, wasn't making his mid-range shots. He made one, but Chris Middleton, like, I think they should have like gone to different options if it wasn't working for Chris, because they wanted Chris to be like the guy that game, and it's not working.
Yeah, I just felt like it was a lot of the Bucks go up, oh, they foul, and now it's free throws. Oh, they go back up again, oh, another foul. Where it's like, just let them shoot it and see what happens. I'd rather have them tied off of a shot than fouling them in situations where it's like, cool, that could have easily been avoided. But I just felt like how you said with Chris Middleton, it's like he shot 4 of 15 and 2 for 7 from 3. Why are we relying on him to take that last shot when we have a guy who's known for doing that? Now, I'm not going to say Lillard had the best game because he had a horrible game. He shot 29 shots and only made 9 of them. 3 for 14 on 3. So, again, another atrocious shooting three-point game from him and Malik Beasley. But just get the ball to Giannis. Like, it was a 1-point or 2-point game, and it's like we're not down 5-6 points where we need a 3. We're down 1 basket, and I just feel like they can just never figure that out correctly of who is taking the last shot. Is it Lillard? Is that why we got him? Is it Giannis to just go to the hoop? Like, nope, Chris Middleton. It's like, I get it. Like, I want him to do good, but it's like, let's think logically about some of this. But yeah, that was a horrible game, and I just get so annoyed with losing to teams without their best player after we just destroy the top seed. Not like we're going to win every game, but I'd rather have won the Pelicans and Lakers game and lost to the Thunder. It's like one of those things where these are the games we should be winning, and we're not.
And watching the defense they played, especially down the stretch, they treated Austin Reeves like he was like a 5th grader playing against grown-ups. That's how they treated him. They treated that man like he couldn't play. They were legitimately giving him whatever he wanted. He was getting wide open shots. He was getting wide open drives to the basket. I did not understand that. Like, have you not seen this guy play for the past year or 2 years? Austin Reeves can play. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I've watched a little bit of his game. Austin Reeves can absolutely play. Like, LeBron likes him. Okay, he plays well off Anthony Davis. Okay. Did you not see that shot he made last year against Memphis? He can play. So I don't understand why Milwaukee was treating Austin Reeves like he was just some like scrub who was just out there with the big dogs. I didn't understand that. Like, it was horrible defense. And, I hope like they're not going to play him again this year. Okay, unless they get to the finals. But if they play Austin Reeves again next year, God forbid, I hope the defense is a lot better and they actually take them a little more seriously than they did this last game.
Yeah, that kind of bothered me, especially in the fourth quarter and into overtime with like, yep, here you go, just take a shot. Or even like if it's a deep three too, like contest it a little bit. Give me something. But yeah, I just felt like they just gave up after they gave up that lead. It was like, okay, bummer kind of thing. And so we'll see what happens. But otherwise, I just felt like they just allowed the Lakers to just have that win. Once they caught up, again, teams are going to make runs, but Jesus, the 19-point lead in the fourth quarter, it's like, come on, what are we doing at this point? But yeah, that's a game I just want to like tuck away and not think about. At 13 points in the fourth quarter, that's not going to do it.
Scrub it from my memory. No, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. Just pretend that game didn't even happen, but I don't know. It's just unfortunate that they could have done a lot. This is the second time this year where LeBron James didn't play and Milwaukee didn't take advantage of LeBron James's absence.
Correct.
I'm not saying the Lakers are bad, but they're also fighting for a playoff spot. So I think they should have played a lot better, and unfortunately they didn't take advantage of it. And again, I just felt as though they were settling for just way too many outside shots where they should have gotten the ball inside more. I get it. Anthony Davis is, played well against Brook Lopez past few games, but again, like the Lakers right now have our number.
Yep, and then we'll get into another game I want to scrub out of my memory with the Pelicans. But yeah, that Lakers game. Cool. All right. Done. Let's figure it out. On to the next one.
Yeah, the Pelicans game, there wasn't too much to. This was actually worse because they were really out of this game after the second quarter. Like the Pelican, like watching the Pelicans game, it sucked to watch that because it was one of those things where, like after the second, Zion got going, CJ McCollum got going, even Valanciunas got going. So, that Pelicans game, like it sucked. It sucked to watch.
Yeah, I think what bothered me the most was Chris Middleton kept shooting, and Herb Jones just was a defensive beast that game. He had 4 steals, 3 blocks. It's like this dude was unstoppable on the defensive end. And I don't remember if he was like a trade rumor guy this year, but he's one of those guys I feel like the Bucks could benefit of having. But obviously the Pelicans aren't going to get rid of him. But holy cow, I felt like my feed was that entire time was Herb Jones steal, Herb Jones steal, Herb Jones steal. And it showed they had 11 steals. Bucks had 1. Not that is a huge stat for the game, but giving up over 10 steals I feel like is horrible. I know they had like about 20 points off of turnovers where it's like you cut your steals to half, it's a whole different game. Now, I feel like you'd still lose, but yeah, I felt like the Pelicans' defensive play kind of won them the game because their shooting wasn't the best either. They only had 107. Bucks only had 100. But my God, the Bucks just could not hold on to the ball without turning it over. They had 14 turnovers, kind of same stats on the rebound and assist side, but yeah, turnovers 14. They held the Pelicans at 19 turnovers, but when 11 of your turnovers are steals, I just feel like that's a better chance of scoring, and they did that. But yeah, everyone else, I just felt like just could not do anything, especially Middleton. I just kept like wondering why he kept shooting. He just kept going, missing every shot he was taking. And so, yeah, that's that. Just wasted another Giannis monster game, per usual. 35 and 14.
Yeah, and it just kind of felt like they were still maybe a little bit shell shocked from the Lakers game, maybe a
Yeah.
little tired. I don't know, but it was not like there was nothing positive to really take away from that game. It was just it felt like they were out of it kind of after the second. What I will say though is if people are still sitting there being like Zion's fat, no, he's not.
Dude was
Trust
balling
me,
out.
he is. He's got that burst again. Like I felt like in their first matchup, and especially in the season, it looked like Zion was laboring. Evan is not laboring anymore.
He is not.
He had burst, and he drew a couple of crucial fouls against Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know Zion usually should be the quicker guy, but you know, like when you have Brook Lopez trying to guard him, it's like that's not going to work. Zion is an athletic freak. And the only person who could probably guard him is Giannis. And I don't know what the weight discrepancy is between those two guys. Like I think he's a little bigger than Giannis, but I think Giannis is like pretty physical. Like I don't think it's one of those things where like if those two went up against each other, like he would just back him down all the way to the paint.
Yeah. But Zion has 40 pounds on Giannis.
Okay, so but I don't think that's maybe that doesn't matter as much because I think Giannis did a pretty good job on him for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a couple of times where like Zion had when he gets that burst back and he gets going towards the basket, he's gonna draw fouls and he's gonna like shoot and he's gonna like hit free throws. So he had a pretty big game too.
Yeah, he did that a lot late in the game, which I think kind of won it for them essentially.
Valanciunas, he's a huge Bucks killer, so I wasn't too I hate him. I mean, he's been killing us since his Raptors days. So, I mean, he's just one of those mountain centers that, you know, Milwaukee just can't stop, unfortunately. And, you know, he made that one tough shot against Bobby Portis. I was like, how the hell do you make that? CJ, I mean, you know what to expect from CJ McCollum. Herb Jones, pretty underrated defensive player, but.
Yeah, not the offensive guy that everyone thinks is going to be, but yeah, defensively, he's a menace.
Absolutely so. And that's about it. I don't think Alvarado played. I think Alvarado's out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was sick, it looks like.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Brandon Ingram is out. I'm trying to. Okay, remind me again who their point guard was. I'm trying to remember that name. I hope it's not an obvious name that I forget.
It probably would have been either CJ McCollum or Trey Murphy.
Trey Murphy, that's who it was. Okay,
third.
so yeah. Okay, so good. It's not like a well-known player. Underrated for New Orleans, but not like a well-known player. So, moving on to our final two topics. I saw this the other day. Jrue Holiday was on the Draymond Green podcast where he was talking about how the old Milwaukee trade went down. I don't want to give too many details, so I'm just going to share the video right now. And Evan, obviously, let me know if you can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of reporting going on that Damian Lillard is going to get traded. No one knows where. He keeps saying Miami. Like, how soon with that did you know that you were getting traded?
I'm taking a nap. I see the text. I see a call from the GM, and I'm like, I'll call him back. Like, I'm deep in this nap too. You know what I'm saying it's a good one. And then 2 seconds later, my agent called me. So I pick up his call. He's like, "You talk to him?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm sleeping." He's like, "Well, you just got traded, so you should probably call me back." And then I ended up looking at my phone. He ended up texting me everything that was happening, like, here. And then I ended up calling him, and he ended up saying, like, "Yeah, we traded you for Damian Lillard." So I also had no clue. I think for me, it was just a shock because at least let me know 24 hours in advance, not 5 minutes in advance. And maybe I'm asking for too much. It's kind of like, I mean, I won there.
See, yeah. it's one of those things where it's hard to lose Jrue Holiday from a fan side. I know he wasn't having like the best seasons after they won the finals that first year that he was there, but I don't understand why all these NBA players and podcast people are still asking him this same question every single time. Like we know the answer, and I just hate how he's okay, I shouldn't say hate, but like it sometimes it makes it seem like he doesn't want or like he's not like being a team player with Boston. You're on Boston, dude. You're not on the Pistons, you're not on the Wizards, you're not a Hornet. You're not stuck in purgatory. You're not the it's like you are on the best team in the league essentially. You got the team that you were traded from got essentially worse in my opinion, being the Bucks, but I don't know. Like I feel for him again. Like it sucks because again he wanted to stay in with the Bucks for the rest of his career. But then people are gonna say like, oh, it's a dirty business. Like you can't trust anyone, which is like it's not like a bad thing, but it's like one of those things where it's they just felt like that was the decision they need to make. And here we go. But I mean, I don't know what the advance you can give in 24 hours. Like I don't know anything about like when it actually went down, but I don't know. I just feel like at this point, I just you can't really get over it just because it still is like fresh in your mind and people keep asking you about it. But I don't know. It's just always iffy where it's like I just feel like I would just get annoyed answering that question over and over and over again. We know the answer is I know you wanted to be here. They traded you. Sorry. Now you're on the Celtics. You have a chance to win a ring as well. I hope it doesn't happen in the nicest way possible. But I don't know. I'm just getting kind of annoyed always seeing Jrue Holiday pop up every like month or so.
So what I will say is from his perspective, like so I didn't obviously know how the whole trade went down. I agree with him on his perspective that well it sucks because I had like a whole newspaper article saying like I want to be in Milwaukee the rest of my career. And then all of a sudden, I'm being traded. So, like, I give basically a love letter to the city of Milwaukee, and then all of a sudden, like, John Horst was behind the scenes wanting to trade me. So, and I understand it, but for what trades like that, it's really hard to be like, hey, in 24 hours, we're trading you for Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really something you could just be like, oh, by the way, like 24 hours you're being traded. Goodbye. Like you can't like that's not normally how trades go down anyways. It's quick. Normally players now with the rise of social media are not the first to find out about it. Usually they have to find out via social media, but I mean it sucks. It's at the end of the day, the NBA is a business. And unfortunately, with Giannis putting the pressure on the team in his podcast appearance last September, it was kind of like a warning to John Horst where it was like, yo, you better like we gotta assemble something around me. Like we gotta get a team that is gonna compete for championships long term. Like as long as I'm here. So I understand it because Jrue Holiday, you know, he won with Milwaukee, he wanted a title with Milwaukee, so I understand he wanted that respect, but at the same time, it's just like the Lillard trade, there was a lot of moving parts to it. Like if Lillard actually wanted to be traded to Milwaukee, if he just wanted to just strictly go to Miami, I don't want to go anywhere else. And it was a lot of moving parts. It sucks how the trade went down. I miss Jrue Holiday, especially miss him for his defense. But I mean, at the end of the day, like if you're a GM, you're making that trade 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, you got to keep your franchise guy, and if that was the reason why, then that has to be. I mean, I don't have anything else to say. You're gonna keep Giannis over Jrue 100 times out of 100.
And look, credit to Jrue. Look, credit to John Horst for pulling that off. But like for Boston's sake, like. Hey, if Jrue Holiday can help you guys win a championship, by all means, I hope he does. But I'm just going to say this, not that this is a case of sour grapes. He didn't really play well in the postseason in Milwaukee. He played, in the championship, right? He played pretty good defensively, but all people are going to have burned in their mind is he had Jimmy Butler average over 20 on his head. Maybe over 30, 27. I don't know what the exact number was, but the point is Jimmy Butler went off in that series with Jrue Holiday being his primary defender. So that's what people are going to remember about that is, just Jrue Holiday, just, not playing as well as he hoped against Jimmy Butler. So, it sucks how the trade went down, but, I mean, at the end of the day, he's in a better place. Milwaukee's in a better place. So, really all we could say about it.
Yeah.
So moving on to the final topic. Patrick Beverley.
Mm-hmm.
It was reported earlier this week that he was going to miss 3 to 4 months due to him having to get wrist surgery. But then Patrick Beverley came onto his podcast, the Pat Bev on the Barstool Network, and he said that he's actually going to play through the wrist injury. So, Evan, from your standpoint, how is that going to affect Milwaukee's bench?
See, it's one of those things where it's like, if it's 3 to 4 months, that seems like it's a little more serious, or that's just the healing process. So I don't know what it's like to, again, play with an injury like that. I mean, he played, where did it go? Played 7 minutes, went 0 for 4 in the last game against the Pelicans. So the 0 for 4 seems familiar with his other games, but the 7 minutes is a little different. So I wonder if they're just going to slowly play him a little bit just to kind of see how it plays out. But first I was mortified because I'm like, they traded him again, another trade that just goes down in the dumpster because it just does not work out for the Bucks. But I don't remember the quote directly, but I know from his podcast, and I love how he's the one to give. It's not Wojnarowski. It's him. He is giving. He's like, yeah, the doctors. He's the Woj bomb for himself, which I think is hilarious. But when he said that he was going to play through it, I really liked how he said that the team traded him. The team got Patrick Beverley as in the Bucks to win games and to play defensively. And he's like, I feel like if I didn't play, he would kind of be letting them down. Essentially, that's not what they got me here to do, was to sit out. And I kind of see it as, is this the last year or so if this is going to be the best situation and he can win a championship, he's going to play through it. I don't know if he's going to retire soon or if he's I'm not going to be in this situation again. I need to play, but good for him for sticking through it. But it's just annoying that the Bucks could be potentially going to the playoffs for the third year in a row with an injury. Which again, I'm not the one to make excuses, but it just kind of sucks that they just can't stay healthy. But he is going to play through it. Good for him. I hope it works out. I hope they don't overdo it, which it doesn't seem like they're going to. I feel like the Bucks are smart enough not to. But yeah, it just kind of sucks overall. Just in this situation, then obviously he'll have to potentially start next season, whether it's with the Bucks or anyone else, out. Essentially, assuming that whenever the season ends for the Bucks, he'll get the surgery.
I would also like to know when he suffered the injury. I don't know if there was an obvious thing, but he suffered it somewhere. I don't know if anybody could pull up a video of when he actually suffered the injury. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up right now, and I'm gonna see if I can find if there's any sort of video.
Yeah, I know. Did people say it happened in a Lakers game? Or the game before that? Oh, the Thunder game. He missed the team's loss to the Lakers, so it must have been the Thunder game, would be my guess, or just having a practice in between the Thunder to Lakers.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I don't know if there's a.
Oh yeah, here's the quote I was kind of looking for. It's basically like Beverley's willingness to put off surgery to continue playing despite the injury shows commitment to the team and desire to win the title with the Bucks. Now it's all getting the proper treatment daily. Okay. So it looks like they're doing what they need to do to kind of monitor it, but it looks like they are just allowing him to play, just again not to the Patrick Beverley extreme.
Yeah, and I'm trying to and like I said, I'm just trying to see. It's a torn ligament in his wrist. I'm trying to see where he would have suffered the injury. I don't think there's no video or anything on it, so I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, I didn't find anything.
So we'll have to
We'll be
see.
updated about it.
Yeah. So Evan, you got anything else?
No. Let's see. So we got today's Friday. So we got a game tomorrow against the Hawks, and then they pick up again Tuesday. Hoping for the Hawks. I don't know if you saw the Hawks game last night with DeJounte Murray. Took 44 field goals and made 44 points of the game winner against the Celtics last night. But yeah, we got the Hawks, the Wizards, the Grizzlies, the Raptors. So we got some games that hopefully we can kind of leave with a win. But others only got 9 games left in the season, so we're in crunch time. So got a couple big games against the Knicks, Celtics, and Thunder. But otherwise, those other games, I'm kind of hoping for a little win to kind of clinch that 3rd or 2nd seed overall. So yeah, we're getting down to the wire. We'll see what happens.
Yep. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Milwaukee Bucks at Tap podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.